of people watched Candace Owens. Millions of people watched Candace Owens and Andrew Wilson go at it over Charlie Kirk and Tyler Robinson. Independent channels carried the night. Patrick Bet-David put them under lights. The cut tore past millions of views in a day. Cable news ran nothing. Not a panel, not a chyron, not a both sides hit piece. Mainstream media acted like it did not happen. One America watched the fight, the other America deleted it. And in the middle of that silence, a man who was never the story got sold as the story. Andrew Wilson.
This is that fire. Grab your Bible.
Joe Rogan has been playing Don King, not the fighter, the matchmaker, the promoter, the man who doesn't need the belt, he needs the card. Don King made a fortune on one truth he said out loud. Only in America can a man with a thin public record get walked into the center of a national murder argument because the right microphone decided he was next. Only in America can 2 podcast bookings in 7 months turn a niche debate grinder into the guy who can take Candace. Don King had another line worth stealing for this mess. You never get what you deserve, you get what you negotiate. Andrew Wilson did not get the Candace chair because the culture weighed his life's work and found a giant. He got the chair because somebody negotiated the bill. January on Joe Rogan, August on Joe Rogan. Same product pitch both times. Christian debater, thousands of rounds, dangerous mouth ready for prime time. That is not a journalist stumbling into a case file. That is a promotional schedule. Rogan didn't owe Wilson a title shot. He gave him one anyway. And here's the detail that makes the build look even more expensive and even less organic. Andrew Wilson didn't just talk his way into Candace's chair. He paid $300,000 for the right to sit in it. Take a listen.
Now, to be clear, I have already sent Candace the $300,000 and fulfilled my end of the contract with her. If you guys want to help me in bearing that cost and help cushion the overwhelming attacks from her sycophants, here's where you can donate.
His own words, his own crucible update. Wire sent, staff confirmed. Promise made, promise kept. That was the flex. Then, after the money moved, he launched a Give, Send, Go so the audience could reimburse the challenger who just bought the fight. Look at that structure. In boxing, the tomato can gets a check to face the name. Wilson wrote a check to the name, then passed the hat so he wouldn't have to live with the number. That's not a man who stumbled into a murder case with nothing but courage and a Bible. That's a man who purchased a transcript window and tried to make the public eat the purse. Don King again. You never get what you deserve. You get what you negotiate. Wilson negotiated $350,000 as the price of admission to Candace Owens. Not because Tyler Robinson's docket required his genius, because the target was worth the buy-in. Joe Rogan could build the myth. The $300K bought the date. The Give, Send, Go told you he wanted the myth and his money back. In boxing, they have a name for a man they build so the champion looks chaseable. Tomato can. Peter McNeely walked into Mike Tyson in 1995 after a resume full of names you don't remember. The world was told it was a moment. The fight lasted 89 seconds. Tyson hit him. The corner saved him. The night became a joke with a ticket price. McNeely wasn't there to dethrone anybody. McNeely was there so the room could sell a dethroning. That's Andrew Wilson next to Candace Owens. McNeely got paid to last 89 seconds. Wilson paid $300,000 for hours of television, then crowdfunded the refund. Different century, same product, a body in the ring so the sale can happen. Not because Candace is Mike Tyson in every lane. She isn't. And she doesn't have to be, because the structure is the same. Pad the record in smaller rooms, run the highlight clips, book the big mouth on the biggest comedy podcast in the country twice, put real money on the table for the date, then point him at the woman who won't shut up about Charlie Kirk, and call it a heavyweight fight. Wilson's public footprint does not explain the altitude. No Wikipedia page that marks a life that the country already decided mattered. No stack of investigations that made him unavoidable on this case. The Crucible, paid debate product, a specialty in verbal combat. Politico already clocked the motto. Winning is the only religion. Domination over truth. Humiliation as the craft. He is interesting the way a sparring partner is interesting. Useful to the people holding the stopwatch. Forgettable the second the stopwatch stops. There's a second boxing ghost if McNeely feels too quick for you. Randall Tex Cobb went the distance with Larry Holmes in 1982. He didn't get blown out in 89 seconds. He stood there and took a beating so one-sided that Howard Cosell looked at the sport he loved and walked away from boxing broadcast. Cobb lasted. The spectacle still failed. That might be the better read on Wilson's night with Candace Owens. He didn't vanish in a minute. He filled hours. He talked. He waved papers. He said overwhelming until the word got tired, and by the end, the people who came to see a contender had watched a bloodbath of empty certainty, a man performing mastery over a foul he could not recite. Let me say this so no one puts words in my mouth. I have not tried the Tyler Robinson case in my head like a juror with a full discovery binder. I have not lived inside every lab report, every warrant, every inch of body cam footage. Like Andrew Wilson on the charges he couldn't name, I know what I haven't studied. I know what I don't know. I am neutral on Robinson's guilt or innocence in the final courtroom sense of that word. That neutrality is not cowardice, it's honesty. What I am not neutral about is Candace Owens' right to ask hard questions while the body is still warm in the nation's mouth and the official story is still being sold as closed scripture. She can probe timelines. She can ask about process. She can refuse the demand that she perform certainty for a studio audience. She can say the evidence feels off without handing a cable prosecutor a noose made of her own adjectives. That is not conspiracy as a personality type. That is citizenship with a spine. Wilson's posture was the opposite. He performed total knowledge. He performed the case closed. He performed the moral emergency of Candace herself, as if the danger to the Republic was a woman with a microphone, not a murdered man in a country that can't agree on what it saw. Watch the Candace night through the Don King lens, and the shape gets vulgar in its clarity. The first movement was costume drama about Tyler Robinson. Gun, DNA, text, stairwell, overwhelming on a loop. The second movement was the real job. Deposition energy, legalese, yes or no traps, clip packets aimed at Israel, Erica Kirk, TPUSA, foreign side guests, anything that pulled the camera off the rifle and onto the woman. Then the sentence they came for. Wilson pressed toward the kind of wording that doesn't seek truth, it seeks a transcript. The kind of question you ask when somebody somewhere wants a clean line for a fouling. Play the clip.
You actually believe that anybody in TPUSA or Erica Kirk or Erica actually participated, had foreknowledge of, or facilitated the murder of Charlie Kirk?
I'm not going to get myself into a legal pickle here. Everything I've said is on my podcast. I think firmly that if I was the investigating officers, I would seat them all, and I ask questions. I would at this phase. I would.
That was not evasion. That was literacy. A woman who understands lawfare hears the difference between a debate and a deposition. She heard it. She declined to sign her name to someone else's lawsuit. Then the McNeely moment on a hot mic in real time. Near the end, she asked a simple question. Of the charges against Tyler Robinson, which ones do you believe he's guilty of? Take a listen.
Which one of the charges against, or all of them, do you think Tyler Robinson is guilty of?
The specific charge?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what I think is that Tyler Robinson shot Charlie Kirk.
Yeah, but of the 7 charges that he's being charged.
Yeah. Can we list them real quick? I'll tell you exactly which ones. We'll pull them up.
Well, do you know any of the charges that he's up for right now?
Yeah, of course. But I want to make sure that we have them listed.
Yeah, but like can you name one? Because my general perspective is that you don't actually care about this case. You're not following the case.
That's the question. You're just not following. Name all 7 since you've been following the case.
Okay, sure. You name one.
Yeah, you named all 7.
I'm happy to do that, but can you name one?
I think he's been charged with murder.
That's actually incorrect.
Okay, great. Now
the first charge is aggravated murder because that's what carries a death sentence in the state of Utah. No,
Next.
that's not. That is literally not murder.
Okay.
And so the second charge is the felony discharge of a weapon. The next 2 charges are for obstruction of justice.
Okay.
The next 2 charges are for witness tampering.
7th.
The last charge is violence in front of a minor.
Okay.
If you would like to move to final statements, I'm fine. I want to make sure Andrew has had the time that he has requested.
I think your team would like to pull up the 7 charges that he just asked you about. If you guys want to pull that up just to confirm the 7 you went through.
Murder, felony discharge of a firearm, obstruction of justice, which is counts 3 and 4, 5 and 6, tampering with a witness, and count 7,
violent
offense in the presence of a minor.
In front of a child.
Yeah. When you pulled out your phone just before you asked that question, did somebody by chance text you that question?
You can check my phone.
I'm just curious.
No, you can absolutely not. I have not had one communication with a single person, not even my producers who are in there this whole time we were here. You want to check my phone? PBD? You're the moderator.
Okay.
Take it.
Let's see
See
it.
if anyone was texted at all during this debate.
All right.
About the violent charges or anything.
I'm looking through this. You give me permission.
You
I'm
have full permission to go through my phone. I don't need to cheat.
Y'all want to see a dead body? Rewatch that whole clip. That's a dead body. There were 2 incredible tales when he lied. And she's asking, hey, name one of the charges. Do you know the charges? Yeah, of course. That's a lie. He just because he doesn't. That he doesn't know. He couldn't answer. But it's yeah, of course. And that's an indication that he knows. Like, no, I'm sitting here arguing with someone who's devoted their life to this case, and I don't even know the charges. So let me pretend that I do, because if I don't, I'm a fraud. That's what he just revealed. And then when he came back, after getting his pants pulled down. And then he came back and said, did someone text you that question? Because what he's doing is you just murdered me in broad daylight. You just hit me with the kill shot. Someone gave you that. There's no way this pregnant mother of 4 black woman could have pulled my pants down and hit me with the kill shot. Someone had to text you that question. Didn't they, Candace? He reached for murder, wrong statute shape. The case the state actually charged turns on aggravated murder, death eligible language, not a casual synonym you grab because it sounds close enough for podcast work. She listed them. He had spent the night calling the state's case a hammer. He could not name the nails. So he accused her of cheating with a cell phone. A man who lives inside a case recites the docket in his sleep. A man on assignment memorizes the target, Candace, and panics when the target, Candace, knows the file better than he does. Andrew Wilson knew Candace's old clips, her pressure points, her enemies, her timelines, her receipts. He knew almost nothing about the criminal file he sold as open and shut. Hatred is a better study partner than discovery when hatred is the homework. These people hate Candace Owens. That man is driven by his hatred of Candace Owens. He has no interest in who murdered Charlie Kirk. That's many of you listening right now. You hate Candace Owens. You don't care who murdered Charlie Kirk. Charlie Kirk's name was the costume. Candace was the opponent. They couldn't beat her audience in the open market. 500,000 live viewers, millions more on replay. The independent table won the night the networks pretended not to see. So the next move in this kind of war is not a better argument. It is a more expensive one. Turn commentary into liability. Turn questions into defamation. Turn a Catholic woman with reach into a balance sheet cautionary tale. Make the questions too pricey to ask. That is the Alex Jones prototype. Not as identical facts, as identical method. Sue the voice, Candace, until the voice is the story. And the dead man becomes scenery. Andrew Wilson's job was never to win on the merits of Tyler Robinson. Wilson's job was to trip Candace into the sentence that makes the lawsuit easy. He didn't only show up for free heat, he bought the heat, then asked strangers on Give, Send, Go to make him whole. Joe Rogan built the Challenger. Don King with a better laugh track. The $300,000 bought the date. The debate was the tripwire. She did not sign the sentence. Two Americas watched different nights. One America saw a woman refuse to write her own indictment on live television, and a promoter's tomato can forget the charges in the case he called overwhelming after paying $350,000 for the privilege of forgetting them on camera. The other America saw nothing because nothing was allowed to exist on the approved channels. I am not here to pronounce Tyler Robinson guilty or innocent from the studio chair. I have not earned that certainty. Neither did the man who pretended he had. I'm here to say Candace Owens gets the ass. I'm here to say a padded resume, 2 Rogan stamps, and a $300K wire do not equal moral authority over a murder case. I am here to say Don King's America is still operational. Only in America can the matchmaker crown a contender the public didn't ask for. Only in America can the challenger buy the seat, flub the charge sheet, accuse the champion of cheating, then crowdfund the refund. You never get what you deserve. You get what you negotiate. Somebody negotiated Andrew Wilson into the center of this. The center did not hold. Charlie Kirk is still dead. The questions still stand. And the people who want those questions buried just showed you the method. Not persuasion, extraction. Don't give them the sentence. Man, these people think they're slick. And there's a lot of them out here. And they don't care about Charlie Kirk. They don't care who murdered Charlie Kirk. They're not objecting to Candace Owens' method. They're objecting to Candace Owens. They hate Candace Owens. From Ben Shapiro to a bunch of other people running their mouth. Ben Shapiro never liked Charlie Kirk, but he does hate Candace Owens. And he's not alone. The difference between me and I don't hate Candace Owens. I don't know her, but I know that based on the standards that have been established in American media, from the Serial podcast to HBO and their crucifixion or their 3 documentary exoneration attempt of the West Memphis 3. This stuff true crime has been normalized. And just because you hate the host of this true crime documentary doesn't mean we all have to throw out all the standards that have been set across American media. So you can hate Candace Owens and wrap it up as, oh, I'm just righteously offended for Charlie Kirk and Erica Kirk. And I know y'all, Whitlock's just caping for, I don't know Candace. I've met her a couple of times. I've DM'd her a couple of times over Twitter. I don't know Candace. I respect her. I'm just going to keep it real. I do. I respect the work. And I've been critical of Candace Owens in the past. Anybody that watches me knows, like, Whitlock will criticize anybody, including himself. Man, Whitlock loved Caitlin Clark, but he sure did change up. And if Candace Owens slips up, changes up, gets proven to be a fraud, I'll sit here and, criticize her. No problem. But so far, all I see is a bunch of jealous haters and a bunch of Ben Shapiro groupies upset that, things are changing in this country. I'm going to stop there, bring Shamika and Dre into this conversation. But before I do, though, I do want you all on this channel particularly to visit Preborn, preborn.com/fearless. Get in the fight to save babies' lives. Get in the fight to fight the abortion mills and the whole abortion culture. Preborn is the best organization doing that. $28 buys an ultrasound, $140 buys 5 ultrasounds. Whatever your best gift is, give it today. Preborn.com/fearless or dial #250 and say the keyword baby. All right, Dre, Shamika, welcome in. Shamika, I'll let you fire first. What did you think of the Andrew Wilson, Candace Owens fight or debate?
Jason, only in America can a Black woman just come downstairs, stay in her home, be fully dressed, collect $300,000, pimp slap a white man, and not even break a sweat. Only in America. I enjoyed the debate. I watched it 1.5 times. I thought it was really good. And I love your monologue, Jason, because like you, we all saw Andrew really doesn't care who killed Charlie Kirk, as most people don't, who are just upset with Candace. Initially, when I found out about the debate, I was saying, why would someone pay $300,000 to talk to Candace? I would love to talk to her as well, but I wouldn't pay her $300K, right? I was saying, why would someone do that? And then I got annoyed when he was arguing about whether or not she could infer. It was just really aggravating to me because that's exactly what he was doing. And she was trying to explain that to him, and he was acting as if he didn't understand, which I know he did. But I absolutely loved the end of it when she proved he didn't know anything about this case. He wasn't there for Charlie, as most of these people are not. I don't think he was the only person that didn't know those charges until she read them off. I didn't know all of the charges, and I watch her show some of the time, but all of these people going back and forth, calling her demons, calling her evil. I'm sure they didn't know the charges either. They just like to get on social media and try to blame this woman who was actually a friend for fighting to try to get to the bottom of this. People have pointed out everything they could. Oh, she's making money. Well, Turning Point is making money. Anybody who's talking about her is making money. Why does she have to be the one to be broke? I just love the fact that you pointed out it's all hate. I'm seeing it from everybody, Black, white, small, tall. It's just about hate. They don't like Candace, and it burns them up that they can't turn her audience against her.
Dre?
Jason, I was on this show maybe December or January, this past year, early this year, and the topic was Candace Owens attacking Erica Kirk. Does this make sense? Is she allowed to do this? And I said then, as I still say now, Erica Kirk is the CEO of a public company that's taking in 9 figures in donations. She is open to attack. She's open to questioning. She's open to ridicule. She's open to hate. If you want to take it that far, You're allowed to do that. And Candace Owens has been doing that, whatever you want to label it, for about the last year. Andrew Wilson. Now, if we just looked at this logically, he paid $300,000 to go on her podcast and debate her on a topic in which he really isn't that invested. He was invested in her, not in the subject of Tyler Robinson and the shooting. That doesn't even add up. That doesn't logically make any sense. What also doesn't logically make sense is Turning Point USA, their people and their affiliates, let's just call them that, who have said for months that anyone who is questioning that Tyler Robinson is the shooter, there's something wrong with them. That logically does not make sense. How can you logically conclude who's done something when we haven't even had a trial yet? And there are Turning Point affiliates and members who've been saying that since November of last year, October of last year. Erica Kirk said it 3 days after Charlie was dead. That young man who killed my son, I forgive him. How do you know that was him? We don't even know. We haven't even seen video of a person firing a shot. So this hasn't made sense from the beginning. And people have been piling on Candace for a year, saying that something's wrong with her for what she's been doing. And I've said this since 2020, since COVID happened. Whenever there's a mass of people all saying the same thing, but it doesn't logically add up, and there's a few pushing back against it, I want to hear what the few had to say. Candace Owens is the few, and it's just been her. She has people supporting her, but it's just been her the entire time. Andrew Wilson exposed himself as not knowing the case when he asked that question. That was a gotcha question that he tried to throw on her and ended up getting himself. And overall, Candace Owens defended herself well, represented herself well. It was not a proper debate. It was not. Patrick Bet-David didn't do anything. Hopefully he got paid for that. He got a bunch of streams. Didn't do anything. I could have did that. I could have sat there and just let them talk. Shamika could have did it. Jason, you could have did it. I don't know if they're going to do that again, but overall, I think Candace represented herself well, as people have been going so hard saying that she is just trying to go at Turning Point USA. That conversation wasn't about Turning Point. It showed that she really knows this case inside and out, front to back, the same way that she said Charlie used to teach her. Stay calm, know every single detail of anything that you're going to debate, and you'll be able to hold your own. She did that and represented herself very well, even though, again, her fans are going to keep believing her. Her anti-fans are going to keep believing the other side.
This is probably the most divisive issue that I have taken on. And, there are people that like me, that really, really don't like me and the position I've taken on this. This costs me following and views or whatever. But I'm just sorry. I just don't choose sides based off of what's going to make me popular or what's going to make people not have a problem with me. And so, this will cost me subscribers to the Harmony channel, cost me standing with certainly the TPUSA crowd and the all of that. I don't care. If anybody has been following me for any length of time, it's just a quirk in my personality, because I'm just as stupid and idiotic and as sinful as virtually anybody else, but I'm just not going to be bullied into a position. And I look at the people that all took the vax, because that's what everybody was doing, and that's what you're supposed to do, and you're endangering grandmothers and grandfathers and blah, blah, blah. Miss me with all that. And that's how I feel about this, that we're allegedly, by taking this position, I'm allegedly endangering Erica Kirk. No, she wanted to be the CEO of an organization that just had its CEO murdered. They've already told you what the stakes are, Shamika, for political leadership. It's murder. And that's a choice. I'm sure she's got millions of dollars. She's got 2 kids. She could fade to the back, be a mother, be a widow. She's chosen political office. The stakes are murder. And so I'm not going to cry a river. I'll pray for her. I hope she's safe. I hope she had nothing to do with putting Charlie in harm's way. I haven't seen any overwhelming evidence or any overwhelming evidence that she did, but you name yourself or you take the position of CEO, people are going to ask a lot of really uncomfortable questions. Jamaica.
Yeah, absolutely. And maybe from what I have seen, I could infer, what I believe, but when it comes to Erica, but I'm going to let that slide. I do think I want her. I mean, I know I would like her to be safe. Everybody. I don't think anyone should lose their lives behind politics. But I've watched these people over the last year just really try to bring Candace down. And I do feel like Charlie has faded to the back. She has kept him alive every single podcast for the last year. Kept him in the front of people's minds, kept him in the conversation, where so many other people I feel like would have just moved on by now. They would have accepted the government story, their narrative, and just moved past this. And so people actually should thank Candace for keeping Charlie's name alive for the last year, as many times as people wanted to shut her up. I've watched them try and pull out things where she mispronounced words like debacle and just call her stupid. There's nothing stupid about this woman. As Dre said, anytime something just doesn't sound logical, it makes you want to look closer. Once they came out and said, oh, don't watch her, she's evil, she's satanic, I never was the person that actually watched her a lot. But as soon as they told me I couldn't, that's when I did. I have that same quirk myself, Jason, where you're just not going to bully me and tell me how I have to think and which side I have to take without me looking at it and deciding for myself. So actually, her haters have been her biggest promoter. They've been the biggest promoters, because I think there are a lot of people that are saying, hey, you're not going to tell me how I have to think or what I can and cannot do, especially after COVID. I'm going to look extra hard and actually think for myself.
Dre, I'll give you a final thought and we'll be out of here.
Charlie Kirk was a conservative, staunch conservative. Since when did conservatives start saying, don't question the narrative? That's the part that has been challenging for me for the last 11 months. When did conservatives start saying, don't question it? We are supposed to accept it just because it's been told. And COVID, it was the exact opposite. And the thing that I want to say here, Jason, is with Andrew Wilson. I follow him on Twitter because I like his ability to make arguments. He is good at argumentation in a general sense. On a specific topic, it depends on what it is. He got himself on Joe Rogan and he makes this call to Candace Owens. Candace Owens finds out $300,000. Where'd that money come from? I think he needs to be looked into. He asked for attention. He got it. It clearly was not his money because he put up the give, send, go after he paid the $300,000. That's backwards. What you do is you get the money, then you pay. He paid and then said, let me recoup some of the money. I don't think he even got $100K back. So who paid that money? As Candace asserted, I think it was Turning Point USA. I think they put him up to it. He did whatever it is that he did. And now he wants to just fade back and go back to what he was doing before. But I think since he called for this attention, he should get a little bit more of it. And maybe Candace will be the one to provide it.
So, Dre, since you follow him, I don't and was unaware of him until the past week or two, maybe a week. Where did he come from? What is his brand? Was he popular before this?
I don't know where he comes from or what his brand is. I just know that I think he's good at breaking down arguments. He's good at breaking things down logically. This logically makes sense. This doesn't make sense. The arguing skill. And he is on the conservative side. So I've heard him talking about the Candace thing. He's made some good arguments. And, everybody has something to say about it. That's why I started following him, because I respect his ability to break down arguments. I don't like the way he pushed back against Candace because it seemed more on a personal level, Turning Point sense. He claims his background, that he did some military stuff and he has some other things going on. He's been on many other podcasts. There's a million people out here. I'm not quite clear on what his background is. And when he's asked about it, he is evasive in a kind of a tongue-in-cheek way. So nobody really knows. That's why I said he deserves a little bit more attention.
Shamika, do you know anything about him?
He was a sniper. You forgot that part. You forgot that part. No, Jason, I actually follow his wife just because of some of the things that she has to say against feminism, but I don't really know him. I've seen him on the Whatever podcast, like Dre said. He just seems to be able to argue some of his points logically, but I don't know where he comes from. And I think it would be very interesting, though, to find out, did he just have 300K sitting around, or did someone actually pay for him to take that spot? I would be interested in knowing that.
He's pretty good on Piers Morgan, too. He's on there every now and then. That's a good debate show.
Gotcha. All right, well, thank you, guys. Thank you so much. Audience, I had to do it. I'm sorry. Just who I is. We'll see you tomorrow on Harmony.